Protests and unrest continue across the nation and in Kansas City. It's been more than a week since George Floyd, a 46-year-old African-American man, died in Minneapolis after being handcuffed and pinned to the ground by a white police officer. Bystanders captured video of the officer behind a police car using his knee to pin Floyd by the neck. Floyd is heard repeatedly saying, "I can't breathe." The topic today on SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast, is the role of sports in addressing the unrest. It's Tuesday, June 2nd, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. Star columnist Vahe Gregorian and I talked to Star reporter Glenn Rice. He's been covering the protests, and we talk about that. But Glenn, a longtime Star reporter, is also a sports fan, and we talked about the protests in Kansas City in the context of sports. Later, you'll also hear some clips of coaches and an athlete who have used the social media platform to weigh in on racism. I saw a tweet this morning where someone had tallied the teams in the NFL, NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball that had issued a statement. More than half of them had, and that was as of this morning. My general thought on this is I salute those teams and athletes that want to make a statement and don't condemn those who don't. We'll play those clips after our conversation with Vahe Gregorian and Glenn Rice, which begins now. I thought the first thing we would do today is to get your thoughts on covering the protests, and when did you pick it up, and what have your experiences been in the Plaza area? Because mostly it's been confined to the Plaza area.
Yes, and I started. I was called in at 8:00 on Saturday evening, and went down to. First, I heard that they were maybe protesting at police headquarters. So I initially drove there. There were a handful of people there, and to think the anticipation was folks was going to march in front of police headquarters. That did not happen. So I immediately went to Westport, parked my car, and walked down to the plaza. As I was walking south on Broadway, ran into a bunch of people who had been there for quite some time, and they were there as part of the peaceful protest, some of the demonstrations, and they were holding signs and calling for police accountability, justice, the constant drumbeat of young black men and women who had been killed at the hands of police, and they wanted to express their outrage up for that. And so some of them was there for peaceful purposes, but as the night continued, it became less peaceful and more dramatic. There were a line of officers who in riot gear with helmets, gas masks on, and so they were kind of staying their position, blocking. If you want to go west towards the plaza, they were preventing people from doing that. So.
Okay, so this is Saturday night, and the situation kind of deteriorated the later we went into.
Earlier in that evening, they had deployed tear gas into the crowds. A lot of crowds were some of them may have gone into the street, but there were a lot of angry folks there. A lot of folks who were in the face of police officers yelling at them. And by the same token, there were officers there who were sympathetic. They didn't engage in the exchange, but they were there to listen to what folks had to say. And in many cases, a lot of officers said they agreed with the fact that how George Floyd died wasn't appropriate. That's not the tactics that they use here. But as you've seen recently, there are a lot of instances in which police has been pepper spraying folks. I believe their content is that they told these folks to stay on the sidewalks, and they didn't comply. So that's how they responded.
Glenn, there's no way to easily sift this out because this is sort of the crux of one of the problems, but what do you see as the dividing line between where you can tell who the legitimate protesters are and where people are getting involved that are doing the things that make it more complicated? Yeah. I mean, is it discernible? Or is that a big part of the problem that you can't tell who's going to do what when?
I think as the evening wears on, you could tell, because most of the people who were there protest for legitimate reasons and purposes were there. They expressed their voice and they left as the things kind of. So you can tell. I mean, I don't want to stereotype anybody, but sometimes you could tell that. When I was there were a lot of guys with megahorns and yelling at the group, we're going to do something, we're going to do this, and unfortunately it didn't materialize. And by then they had moved from Broadway to east on Cleaver. And I don't know where they went after that. So
Cindy and I, my wife, rode our bikes over to the plaza on Sunday, and just wanted to get a feel for it. And we were so impressed by the nature of the protest during the day Sunday. And it was hundreds, if not thousands of people then. And I remember walking away thinking, these aren't people that are doing those things.
I read, and we reported that mothers were bringing children down.
Yes. You did see that, and fathers were bringing sons there to be a part of that. So, but I think when it began to turn, then they decided, this is probably not the proper place. So,
yeah. Well, it continued into Sunday night, Monday night, and we're recording this on Tuesday, and we don't know what to expect going forward. Glenn, you've been in Kansas City long time.
A couple decades.
Has Kansas City experienced something like this?
I would say the last time something to this happened would probably have been 68 after Martin Luther King was assassinated, but not to that scale where you had rioting throughout the entire city. This is pretty, I wouldn't say tame compared to that. No, but I wouldn't say anything close to it. Yeah. They've been protests in front of the courthouse before, but nothing to the scale in which has happened here that I can remember.
Go ahead, Vahe.
Well, no, just one of the things what Blair and I were talking about is the link to sports in this, and hearing athletes speak out, and some more forcefully than others. But have you taken notice of that? I know you're a big sports fan too, and what do you feel like athletes ought to be doing right now?
Well, I think some of the more high-profile athletes have used their profile to elevate certain causes. LeBron James is obviously head amongst those, as well as Steph Curry, using it very intelligently and not. You can tell they put some thought into it, as opposed to just saying something, and I think that people who are around them have really educated them to have a voice, but also use that voice, and they also use not only their voice but also their resources to help others that are in need. I think surprisingly, I was surprised that Patrick Mahomes came out and said something, particular in this climate. You saw what happened when Marcus Peters did what he did, and it was not well received. Of course, there were some other issues surrounding Marcus Peters, but that was, I thought that was kind of different. So for him to come out and say something as well crafted as it was, that says something. At least he's thinking along those terms. He could have easily not said anything, and no one would have blamed him. But that's very powerful. And it speaks a lot towards the organization too. I will say to allow him to say that, to do that, but to be supportive in that regard. I know Mark Donovan. We don't golf together, but I've known him because our children were in Girl Scouts together, and so I was just shocked that. And he seems to be very conscientious, very engaged. We don't talk. When we spoke, we didn't talk Chief stuff because I didn't want our friendship to be based around his job, like my job for that matter. But you can tell they really have gone above and in terms of just reaching out to the Native American community and being conscious about the Chiefs and that imagery. And while we know the Chiefs were actually named after Roe Bartle. Right. But they still have that connotation. And if you saw some of the images from years past, that would, it's quite different now. So
yeah, you're right about Patrick Mahomes. He did put a statement out on, was it Instagram?
Instagram, and I think sort of either tweeted from Instagram or however that mechanism works. Yeah, and
of course. The fact that a 24-year-old quarterback understands his role, that what he can say would have some impact, I think is a credit to him for sure, and to the Chiefs organization. That I don't know if he ran it by the Chiefs. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. But whether he did or not, it was out there. It was put out there, and I just thought, well, well done. You may not have agreed with it. It was kind of I don't know, tempered a little bit.
Yeah, right.
He didn't call for. He didn't use the word racism in it or police brutality or anything like that. But he comes from an interesting background on this too, with a black father and a white mother.
Yeah,
so,
in Texas too.
And from Texas, right. So, and I thought another good point about Marcus Peters. Kansas City has been through this just a few years ago, having to kind of come to terms with these ideas and thoughts, because that was of course the reaction to the Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and Marcus Peters wanted to do that and was basically discouraged by, if I remember this right.
Yeah, he was discouraged, right?
After a conversation with Clark Hunt about that.
Yeah, and Marcus is so complicated, and because he's volatile in other ways, and that I think made his message a little harder to resonate. And I remember after when he raised his fist, I remember trying to ask him about it afterwards, and he was angry to be asked, and that just kind of got in the way of the message, I think, and that's a shame. And I think everybody wanted to hear more from him, and I do believe when we were out in Oakland, Blair, covering something, I think Therese Paylor stayed behind and got with some of Marcus's family, and I think that was his way into hearing more and just better expression from Marcus about what he was thinking of, and it was really important when that came to be.
And one thing I would be remiss, I mentioned the riots of '68. Interestingly enough, there were several Chiefs players, including Curtis McClinton, Otis Taylor, Buck Buchanan, Willie Lanier, and Fred the Hammer Williamson, who went on the airways, went on black radio, and really encouraged people not to protest. We actually did a story about that, I think maybe with the 40th or 25th anniversary of the riots itself. And I was shocked at the level of foresight that the players, were engaged in. Of course, it was a different era. They were more connected to the community back then. Curtis McClinton was, in many ways, way ahead of his time in terms of his community engagement. He helped start the Black Economic Union. He was partnered with Jim Brown. There's a picture that I keep of Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, those guys, and he's in the midst of all of that. And so those players within itself, because they came from black colleges for the most part, they were heavily connected and tied to the community. Fast forward to Marcus Peters. He did a lot of stuff within the community that I think a lot of people probably did not realize.
Right.
Around Christmas, I think maybe last year with the team, he was part of a coat giveaway. He was, I think, sponsor of Adidas. And so he shows up at this coat giveaway. They were giving haircuts, passing out food, and so forth. And he just comes in this truck. He didn't come in a truck. He came in like a small compact car stuffed with these jackets. And so his father and other people, and he just passed them out. And believe it or not, some actor guy named, he played, I'm drawing a blank now. From Kansas. Oh, I just drew up
Paul Rudd or
Paul Rudd was there with his son. He was and he helped him. Pass out. I was like, "What are you doing here?" He says, "I'm here to help Marcus Peters." I was like, "Dang, So he gave us an insight on the next couple of Avengers movies, but he didn't tell me too. He didn't tell me too much. But I thought that was so impressive that and Marcus was he was very accommodating to people who want to take pictures with him. He played with the kids, not in his own way. He wasn't, he was Marcus. So.
Well, I'm really glad you shared that story, because I think it really lends some depth to understanding Marcus and his passion for getting out in the community, which we know of in other ways, but also even the fact that he would have engagement with Paul Rudd to come in.
Yeah, it was quite interesting, because he didn't like, okay, here are the jackets, I'm leaving. He stayed.
Yeah.
And these were Adidas expensive. You look at the price tag, like $200 jackets. Granted, it probably didn't cost Adidas anything. It didn't cost Marcus anything, but for a lot of people, these are really good jackets. So.
And from a team success standpoint, all's well that ends well for both the Chiefs and Marcus Peters.
Yeah, right.
Marcus Peters went to a Super Bowl with the Rams. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl without Marcus.
Without Marcus. Yeah, right.
The old
right,
switcheroo.
That's right.
Yeah.
They both ended up okay out of this.
And so I think one can say, like, today's athletes, obviously there are maybe build up to only think singular in terms of their sport. They spend everything tied into becoming better, more proficient. For them to have interests outside of that, I think is quite refreshing, quite interesting. Of someone who grew up here and saw the political change, and so that's kind of interesting. And again, for Marcus Peters to say that, for Patrick Mahomes to say that, to do that. And if you go on social media too, you can kind of get a sense of how conscious some players are. We had mentioned Andrew Wiley. And, today, Tuesday, is Blackout Tuesday. And so you look at the scroll on social media, and all these athletes, they have black, their feed features this totally black picture.
Right.
And I was like, wow, it kind of gives you a different perspective of them in that sense. So if you are a fan, you like them more because, maybe they are tied to what you think is right politically and socially. So.
Well, who's been just great at that, and he's it's no surprise because he's so thoughtful all the time, is Tyrann Mathieu. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the social media.
Yeah, right.
And many words of his have stuck in my mind, and images he shared. I just think he's doing important work that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But not from here, right? He's not.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Good point. Good distinction.
But so we all remember what we felt and what we saw during the kneeling protests of, I guess now 3 years ago, whatever it was. I think it's 2017 season. Mm-hmm. And I think when the NFL season starts, it's going to be different anyway in the COVID-19 world. But this is now, this is going to come back.
Yeah, right.
This issue is going to be back confronting the NFL, which really, as it turned out, took a pretty hard stand against the kneeling protesters. Mm-hmm. They didn't disallow. We kind of left it up to the teams to handle it, and the teams handled it in different ways, as I recall. But I think in 3 years, the world's, and because of this, the world will have changed by the time the NFL season kicks off in September.
I often wonder why, and maybe the NBA really encourages its players to do these things. To support different causes that they feel important, while the NFL, in my belief, tends to play it safe, become more patriotic, that type of thing, kind of almost bland in its concept, So I thought it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Absolutely, because we're talking largely, white owners,
mm-hmm.
Not largely all owners in the NFL. White owners and black athletes. That was the essentially, that's what it boiled down to, mm-hmm. right? Confrontation 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And you just wondering if there's going to be a bit of an awakening. Yeah. Because of this.
It'll be interesting to see it'd be interesting to see what reaction Colin Kaepernick received when he steps out on the field. Although doing preseason, he's with the Jets now. Is it Jets or Miami?
I don't know that.
I thought there was just talk about it. I didn't know that anything happened.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe he had signed. So anyway.
No, I don't think he signed.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
So.
No. I wonder if this will prompt
it. Yeah, I think a lot of people may say they owe him an apology, maybe. So.
One topic that Vahe and I were going to tackle here was we've spent all of our professional lives in locker rooms and clubhouses. And growing up playing sports when we were kids and everything, and we never knew, because of what we do, and as long as we've done it, we've never known a world that wasn't integrated, that wasn't, you go to a baseball clubhouse and it's, half Hispanic today.
Mm-hmm.
You go into any NFL locker room and it's, and it's absolutely black and white, and that's the way that shaped your worldview, right? That's how you thought the world was. And then you get out into the world when you're a young adult And it's like, wait, it's not like this. People are separated in other ways.
Yeah,
and,
right.
I'm wondering if you're a sports fan, and you're not a sports writer, but a great news reporter. But I wonder what your impressions, what you thought of sports and sports' ability to play a role in maybe creating an ideal thought for the times that we're in.
Yeah, I think I instantly thought about Jackie Robinson. And Martin Luther King often said that because of what Jackie did, made it easier for him to do what he did. And so while he probably wasn't as vocal as we would like him to have been for the times that he was in, Michael Jordan pretty much made it easier for LeBron James to be LeBron James. So those, that's, I think, one of the things that hopefully that comes out of this is a better understanding, to have that locker room mentality for society itself. It's going to be a challenge, but it is a possibility that could be one of the things that come out of this. That I think now, with George Floyd's death, I think law enforcement has become ultra sensitive towards what's going out there, what they see, and what's being caught on video or just been brought out. I think they may sometimes operate their own little silos, and it's a rare occasion when you have a Duro Forte who's really engaged into the community. He, was revered in the community, but by the same token, he probably did not have that same level of support probably within his own ranks. But, so it'd be interesting to see what happens from that. Will Rick Smith be more visible? Will he decide to have breakfast at Niecy's, at Meyer and Truce once a month? That's something I think that some folks who he works for wish he would have done more often, be more visible, not doing everything that Forte did, but at least have a presence so he's not a stranger to folks. I think you go down the street, you go to Linwood and Prospect to the Constantinos there, you ask people who's the police chief, they probably will still say Duro Forte. Right. So that'd be interesting. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, well, I love locker room mentality for society itself. Put that on a t-shirt.
There you go. Yeah.
It needs to be the right locker room.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, true. All right, Glenn. Thanks a lot for sitting down and talking to Vahe and myself. And you got to get back and do some reporting.
I got phone calls to make. So anyway, thank you guys. I really appreciate that.
Thanks,
thank
Glenn.
you.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners: unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, let's listen to a couple of audio clips. The first was released on Monday evening by Big 12 men's basketball coaches. On this message of unity, you'll hear Kansas State's Bruce Weber, Chris Beard of Texas Tech, Jamie Dixon of TCU, West Virginia's Bob Huggins, Mike Boynton of Oklahoma State, Iowa State's Steve Prohm, Shaka Smart of Texas, Baylor's Scott Drew, Oklahoma's Lon Kruger, and Bill Self of Kansas. After the Big 12 message, you'll hear from NBA player Malcolm Brogdon. He was the ACC Player of the Year at Virginia in 2016 and has played for the Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers. He was at his hometown in Atlanta when he got on a megaphone to make his voice heard. I thought the Big 12 message was well done, and Brogdon spoke from the heart. So here we go.
Over the last several days,
we have listened to others' pain, anger, and disgust
over the events surrounding George Floyd's death.
Our families, as well as this Big 12 family,
share these emotions as well.
As coaches, our job is to take a group of young men and inspire them to achieve a common goal.
To impact people's lives for the better and to make a difference.
That's our true mission as coaches, mentors, and leaders. It's time for all of us to unite together.
Bring awareness and light to all the racial injustices that we are witnessing in our country.
It's time for us to use our platform to make a difference
and to be part of the conversation to help create solutions.
We all need to be better.
We all need to do better.
We all need to be there for each other.
We all need to take a stand. The current racial climate is unacceptable.
It's time for a change.
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 I got brothers, I got sisters, I got friends that are in the streets, that are out here, that haven't made it to this level, that are experiencing it, that are getting pulled over, just discrimination, day after day, dealing with the same bullshit. And this is systematic. This isn't something where we come and, we don't have to burn down our homes. We don't have to. We built this city. This is the most proudly black city in the world. In the world, man. So let's take some pride in that. Let's focus our energy. Let's enjoy this together. This is a moment. We have leverage right now. We have a moment in time. People are gonna look back. Our kids are gonna look back at this and say, "You were a part of that." I got a grandfather that marched next to Dr. King in the '60s, and he was amazing. He would be proud to see us all here. We got to keep pushing forward. Jalen, man, has led this charge, man. I'm proud of him. We need more leaders. We need more people speaking in the...
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Savannah Smith, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett. I'm always grateful to my Star Sports colleagues like Vahe Gregorian for joining me on the show, and a big thanks to Glenn Rice making his SportsBeat KC debut. Glenn's been part of the Star's coverage team that's done tireless and in some cases dangerous work bringing you the news of the protests. So in addition to Glenn, my admiration and thanks go to Star reporters Cortland Stark, Anna Spurry, Luke Nozick, Allison Kite, Murray Williams, Caitlin Shores, Eric Adler, Joyce Smith, Kevin Hardy, Steve Vachrod, Bob Cronkleton, Laura Bauer, Judy Thomas, and photographers Jill Toyoshiba, Tammy Youngblood, and Rich Sugg. I really apologize if I've missed someone here. But thanks also to the band of editors who are tirelessly playing the parts of traffic cop and orchestra conductors throughout all this. Tell you what, I am proud to work with these folks, and nobody in the region is doing a better job covering the stories that are important to you. You can support them by purchasing the Kansas City Star's online product. News, sports, features, everything, plus an e-edition that provides dozens of additional pages of national coverage. The details can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. That's account.kansascity.com/subscribe. You'll be getting and supporting the best news and sports coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Wednesday for another episode.